Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, what we're doing today, first of all, I want to always give a shout out to Julius Hall and AB. Those are the two that have definitely made this opportunity and platform for us today. A platform that gives returning citizens an opportunity to change the narrative. And when I say change the narrative, I am primarily referring to our success stories. So often you hear the negative stories of men and women who come home from incarceration only to return, which is called recidivism. But we break in that cycle. We're changing that narrative. And that's what we're doing here on All Things Relevant Media. Julius Hall has given us this platform. AB has given us the brainchild of it called Incarceration to Incorporation. How we've moved successfully from one stage in our lives to the next. We have some brand new guests on tonight, and our very own co-host Marie. She is going to introduce them. But again, I just want each of our listeners at this moment to go ahead and share. Hit that like button and share with others so that you will hear, because so often we feel like we're doing this alone. But when you hear the stories of others who have made it, that encourages you, empowers you to know that you can make it also. So without further ado, Marie, welcome to the show again. Here's your opportunity to tell us a little bit about who you are and also who our guests are. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Marie Jones, and I'm so happy that Shakita and James are on the show tonight. I reached out to Shakita because I saw her story that she shared on Facebook maybe like 2 weeks ago. And I was just so moved by how her daughter responded to her father coming home after 22 years of being incarcerated. And I was like, wow, I got to talk to her. So I was just encouraged. So we have tonight James and we have Shakita. And I think I want to say welcome home, James, first of all. Welcome home. I think you've been home shy of 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm just saying welcome home to you. And I just want to go into asking a question.
Okay.
How does it feel to be home?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's still kind of like a surreal feeling, but it's wonderful, to be with the family, to be home, and it's wonderful.
Okay, so Mr. James, can you please tell me? Okay, you don't have to tell me what you did to go to prison. I just need to know when you first went to prison,
Mhm.
and and how was it when you were in prison? How it affect you and your family?
Well, it affected us all greatly. My daughter was 10 months old when I was incarcerated. I was still a kid myself. I was 19 years old. And of course, Shakita was 19 years old, 20 years old as well. And then, so it affected us all. Especially early on, because I was practically still a kid.
Right.
And so, just getting acclimated to the prison setting and, all of the things that transpires within, it was tough. It was tough.
Right.
Hmm.
Let me
So
ask a question, Marie. Marie, before you go, let me ask a question because I want both our guests to feel comfortable. So I think that
yes.
what we should do first is allow them to know that we all have a common denominator.
Okay.
And
Yes.
what I mean by that is I'm gonna tell you a little bit about who I am and where I come from. Then Marie is going to tell you a little bit about who she is and where she comes from. Like
Okay.
me,
Right.
I was incarcerated. I stayed in prison for 26 years,
Okay.
and I've been home now nearly 2.5 years. And I went to prison when I was 20. So
Mm.
do the math. I came home at 46,
Okay.
and that was like you said, a difficult wilderness experience for me,
Mm.
but it made me who I am today, if you will.
Absolutely.
And let me explain what when I say it made me. Not being locked up didn't make me. However, the time that I spent while I was there, along with my faith background,
Mm.
that coupled together with the season that I was in,
Mm.
created the man that I am today. And
Mm.
so that's why I wanted you to know that you're amongst company. Those of us that have also had a long, long wilderness experience. Marie?
Well, I haven't had as long as you, and I call him Miko, but I was incarcerated and I did 18 months. But it was still an experience that I never want to experience again.
Mm.
But guess what? It educates you. It
Absolutely.
educates you on the things that you should not do,
Mm.
especially being away from your family. That
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot. It took a lot, out of my children,
Mm-hmm.
because I thank God for my cousin. She kept my children while I was away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that great? So now you
So,
know
like
you're
Miko
amongst
said,
a
you're
good
not
group.
alone.
Yes, yes.
Right, you're not alone. And me and Julius, even with us doing the ATR, All Things Relevant Media, we have organization that I'm a part of with Miko. It's called OAA, Offenders Alumni Association.
Mm-hmm.
And Miko loved to say, well, we encourage, empower, and educate each other, because you don't want to go through this thing alone. Nobody, I don't care who you are. You don't want to be, especially being in prison. You got to have somebody by your side.
Mm.
And so, Shakita, I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
And, yeah, I think you did a wonderful job. Yeah, I think you did a wonderful job. So I just like I told Miko, I said, "Oh my God, Miko," I said, "I got to have her on the show." I had just your daughter really touched my heart. And so, James, I'm just so ecstatic and happy for you. But Shakita, I want to give you a chance to talk and speak and tell me about who you are to James, and
Well, we're not legally married yet,
that's right,
but this ride here, we do have a 23-year-old daughter together.
right, right,
And it has not been a walk in the park. It has not. But as far as making sure that my daughter maintained a relationship with her father, as
hmm
much as I could, especially, she's an adult now. But,
right,
those adolescent years were the most critical, so and it definitely did pay off. I did the best that I could, because again, it was a different situation for us all. As
right,
he said, he went in as a kid. We were
right,
both kids, first time
right,
parents. So
right,
it's just like I'm going to do the best that I can, just to make sure that they, have that relationship. So I
Right.
do believe that this is why they're still able to communicate now, because, I never kept her away from him. I just did the best that I could. It was
That's
times, he was miles and miles away. I
right.
couldn't afford to go there. But again, by him being incarcerated, it did not stop him from being the best father that he could be.
Right.
He read the books to her, and it just
Oh.
made sure that she knew his voice, and we still have those
Right.
recordings today. So it definitely has impacted us, but at the same time, it was moments of education, definitely moments of growth, and we both learned once we got older and matured, God is
Right.
the center of it all, so
Yes. That's
this is
it.
where we are today.
Yeah.
That's it.
Marie, let me jump in right there. I just want to say to our listeners, because we got Miss Barbara White that's listening. She said it definitely educates you, and we also
Yes.
have Miss Linda Scott. She says yes, that is beautiful. And then we have Sierra Campbell is watching, and one of the reasons for this particular program that Marie has put together is to encourage those couples that may have children together, that are
Right.
struggling through the midst of their incarceration, that it
Yes.
is difficult and it is a struggle, but you can make it. And
Yes.
I want James and Ms. Wilson, I want y'all to share, be candid as well. I want you to tell us, this is your opportunity. And matter of fact, I'll let James, you go first, and then we'll let Miss Shakita go. But tell us, when you came home, was it a smooth transition or was it difficult? And what I mean, be it from a relationship perspective, also to as a man trying to gain your footing. So you tell us, was your transition smooth or difficult, number one? And if it was smooth, cool. But if it was difficult, tell us a little bit about that. And then afterwards, Shakita, you come behind him and you tell us from a relational perspective, was the transition smooth or difficult? Go ahead, James.
The transition for me, it wasn't difficult at all. I pretty much just being as though that I have a strong support system. I have my mother, I have my father, I have sisters and brothers, and I had so many other people that were in my corner rooting for me. I have a wonderful church family that have been praying for me for years. And so, everybody embraced me with open arms. And so the transition has not been as difficult. The most difficult thing for me, to be honest with you, is just catching up with the technology of the day. We had flip phones when I left. So, just getting acclimated on the technology would be the thing that was most difficult for me, but everything else is it's coming along pretty smoothly.
Okay. Shakita?
I wouldn't say the transition was difficult. I will be very transparent. For me, I think it was kind of like overwhelming, simply because, how, someone is coming home, you're talking about 22 years of your life. I know you on that side. Now I'm trying to, we trying to learn each other on this side. But the thing is, as far as I would say, he's saying he's trying to catch up with technology. I think he's doing a great job. He's doing a great job. And just, again, we've talked about this day, so again, it's reality. And as far as the transition, I wouldn't say that it hasn't been a difficult one. I think the main thing is we definitely try to keep an open line of communication, because again, we're coming from two different worlds. Like, I've been out here and he's saying, oh, I have to catch up, catch up or catch on, so again, I think for the most part, and I always ask him, am I being too much? Am I being too overbearing? Because again, I just want to make sure, because again, I don't even want to begin to say I can't imagine, because I don't want to imagine,
Right.
But the thing is, I know me, I can be straightforward, but he knows that part of me. But again, if I feel like I'm being too much, I ask him, hey, is this too much for you? You know, it won't hurt my feelings. Just, is it too much for you at this moment? You know, but for the most part, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. You know, for me, I told him today, you know, we went out there, you know, finish up with like job stuff. And I'm just like, go get them, champ, you know, because I'm your cheerleader, you know,
That's
go
right.
get them, you know. So again, you know, every day we are doing something, working towards success.
And James, when I spoke to you, can you tell me about, they gave you a life sentence, right?
Right.
Okay, can you speak about that part of the 22 years and how it led up to you coming home? Can you speak on that?
Okay, so I just want to say this first, because it would be remiss of me, you know, speaking about 22 years of incarceration and, you know, me being sane and in my right mind, you know. So first, I just give all honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's very important because it was his grace that kept me. Now,
that's right.
So, you know, the incarceration thing, of course, I went in at a young age and, you know, at that particular point in time, I didn't know what to expect. You know, I was young. And so, you know, my earlier part of my incarceration was really spent, you know, getting in trouble. My first 5 years. And that actually led to me being shipped, you know, around the country. I've been in, you know, I've been in Florida. I've been in Arizona. I've been in California. I've been around the world, you know. And so my earlier years weren't as productive. But, you know, while I was out on the West Coast doing time, I ran across a guy and his name was we call him Pastor Mike. And, you know, I used to, you know, speak with him. He was a little older. He also had a life sentence and but he had already made his transformation. And so, you know, he told me, he said, hey, man, he said, man, you know, I know they gave you a life sentence, but it's not going to end like this, you know. And he said, but in order for you to position yourself to enter society, you have to begin now. And I never forget that. And as I was leaving that prison, going to another prison, I stopped by his door and he said, hey, man, when you get to where you're going, establish yourself. And I knew exactly what that meant, because prior to that time, I was, you know, still following the crowd, you know, doing the homeboy thing, still running with the pack. And, you know, and so when I left, his statements, you know, it stuck with me. And when I got to the next institution, I actually began to take heed to what he had said to me. And that's when I actually began to make my transformation. Okay. And so what I began to do, I just began to take advantage of all of the classes that was available, and many of the, you know, the degrees and the certifications that I was able to receive while I was in prison. It wasn't offered through the prison. You know, it was opportunities that I actually sought out and took advantage of myself. Okay. And so, you know, and again, I give all glory to God for that. You know, I was able to achieve and receive a bachelor's and master's in biblical counseling and a master's divinity in Christian counseling. I was able to become a master fitness trainer. I was able to get, you know, various certifications. But again, it all points back to something that man told me at that particular point in time. And I can be honest with you, wherever I've been, there's always somebody that God has sent into my life to kind of navigate and show me the way. Now, whether I went the way, that was one thing. But, you know, and so the transformation was a slow transformation, but I can tell you that in the end, it paid off. In the last institution that I was at before I was released, which was Bennettsville, South Carolina, you know, and I was released on a compassionate release. That's a 3582 C1A, and is based on extraordinary and compelling circumstances. Okay. And one of the things that the judge latched on to was that I had various staff members who had actually wrote character letters for me. Okay. Basically saying that I was a rehabilitated young man, basically saying that, you know, the head psychologist told the judge straight up and frankly, listen, I see no benefit in keeping Mr. Scruggs incarcerated any longer. It just is not serving any purpose, you know. And so, you know, I had all type of support, but it began all back when, you know, at that particular point in time when I began to make that transformation. Okay. And so over the years and over the years, you know, I began to, just to continue to build upon those things and better myself in every way possible. I was very active in the Christian community. I often taught, I often preached. I was selected as an elder by the supervisor at Chapin Ron Apollo at Bennettsville, South Carolina. And so, I positioned myself to be able to be where I am today. And it's one of the things that the judge really harped on. He hopped on the programs. He hopped on the character letters. He hopped on all of these things. And he basically, at the end of the day said, there's no need to keep him incarcerated any longer, so it was a blessing,
James,
Yes.
let me interrupt you for a moment. We have some comments here.
Okay.
First of all, Miss, I'm gonna start from the top. Miss Shamir Welch, she said, wonderful cheerleader. She's talking about Shakita. And Barbara White, she also says, great cheerleader. And Barbara says, life sentence, only God can do that. And then Miss Linda Scott, excuse me, she just gives a hand of applause. Now, I wanted to say that because our listeners are important to us, and we want you to know, both of you, that there are others that are rooting for you. Because now your wilderness journey on that end, if you will, in the wilderness was one thing, but now you're over in the quote unquote promised land. That doesn't mean that the difficulties stop.
Right.
And so one thing that I love that you said is faith. I am a huge proponent of faith. Now, there are many people that watch us that have differing faith, but you specifically speaking of your Christian faith.
That's
and
right.
So what I want to hear from you and also Shakita, but I want Shakita to answer this, is what are you doing now intentionally to ensure that that which you learned then sticks with you now? Now, Shakita, I want you to speak to that first because you haven't brought up much about your faith or your experience, but I definitely know that everything we do, it has to be intentional. And Shamir says, absolutely, we are rooting for you both. So tell me right now, and I want you to be practical. Don't just tell me you're praying. What are you doing practically and intentionally to make sure that that which both of you have learned then sticks with you through the difficult times that's coming now?
Well, let me just speak to actually my past. I only spent a few hours in jail, but I know what it feels like to be a convicted felon.
Right.
I was a former criminal investigator, traveled with a firearm to the state of New Jersey. Well, of course, they have a no gun tolerance there. So being a single mother, losing everything. My job, had to live with my mom for 4 years, so therefore, James, he was the one, even at a young age, going to church. I didn't grow up in church, so again, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, to realize, okay, I do have to do something differently. So that's when I did start going to church. Not only going to church, start serving in church. So therefore, out of my wilderness that I was in for 7 years, that's when, for the past 2 years now, I always had this thing of I wanted to help women, but now it's more so I want to help those who have faced the criminal justice system. So therefore, that's where the Ruth Foundation was birthed. It's redeemed under the Holy Spirit. So therefore, it's helping people that have faced the criminal justice system, whether or not you were incarcerated, pre or post conviction, just helping you migrate back into society. Now, outside of that sector, I'm praying. But also, if you had asked me 22 years ago, would you be a licensed minister? I would tell you no. So I have accepted my call into ministry as a licensed evangelist. So therefore, again, the word does say prayer is dead without works. So again, people say, I'm praying. But in the midst of it, you can't be twiddling your thumbs. What are you going to do? To put your faith into action. So therefore, yes, definitely. And again, James and I, we've, we've had moments where we fast and we've prayed, intentional in our prayer life, and it's not only him praying for himself or praying for me, but we definitely had to have a strong prayer life for our daughter. Because again, it's not only him being affected, it's not me being affected, the overall person that was being affected was our daughter. So therefore, now that we're on this side, okay, we feel like, yeah, the that wilderness part is over. But again, trials are gonna come, everything's gonna come. But again, outside of the communication, definitely have to have the faith and still continue to really keep God in the center of it all, because without him, we would not be here. We would not be in this position. We would not be able to have this conversation here. And I know sometimes he used to look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, you coming home? You coming home? Because the last time I went to see him, the earlier part of this year, I said, the next time I see you, you will be on the other side of the pavement. I'm not coming back in here. And here we are. Right. So I am a woman of faith. So therefore, I am intentional with my thoughts. I'm intentional with my words. I'm intentional with my actions. So if I believe it, because I'm gonna tell you, people thought I was crazy because I always said, he coming home. I'm not worried about it. I'm coming, he's coming home. But at the same time, it got a little tough. It got real tough sometimes. But I never lost my faith, because if God said it, it's gonna happen. So
that's right.
There we are.
So there you go. Now I need to hear practicality and intentionality from you, James. What are you doing now?
I'm doing now. The beautiful thing, one of the beautiful things about my incarceration is that's where I learned to become a man. I went in as a kid, and again, as I said before, God put people in my life all throughout my incarceration that really helped me to navigate and showed me the way. Okay, and so as far as being intentional, it's really me doing the same thing that I was doing in there, and that is, I did the most important thing for me is to just make sure that I'm making room in my everyday life for God. Okay. And I'm not just speaking about prayer. I'm speaking about meditation. I'm speaking about reflection, and so what I'm doing out here right now, again, I am active in the church. I know that I will continue to teach the gospel and continue to preach the gospel. I will continue to do the very same things that I was doing while I was incarcerated. We had a mentorship within inside the prison, and the name of the class was the inside out of being a man. Inside out of being a man. And I was elected to be a mentor in that group. And so again, it's the same things that I was doing in there are the same things that I'm going to do out here. Now, of course, I've only been out here a couple of weeks, but nevertheless, purpose is everything. Purpose and everything is everything. And I absolutely believe that the greatest people who walk this earth are those who serve. And so I'm going to serve. I'm going to continue to reach out and to mentor, and the opportunities that present themselves. That's what I'm going to do. And so as far as being intentional and practical, I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing that I was doing while I was incarcerated. And the one is, it's crazy because the wonderful thing about it was while I was incarcerated that I really begin to receive the vision and the mission that God has for my life. So I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing that I was doing while I was incarcerated. And I'll be able to probably give you some more specifics later on, but I almost will guarantee you that it's going to be teaching, preaching, and mentoring as I've been doing over the course of the last 10, 15 years.
You know what, James? You remind me so much of Miko.
Okay.
Miko is such, I know he probably won't like me saying this, but Miko is such a humble person. He really is. And I'm talking about and when he came home, everything that he was in prison, he's much more now. Okay. Like he's a mentor, OAA. He's the director here in Savannah over OAA. He goes after what he believes in. For real, to know Miko, he's really a humble, kind person, and like he was, they used to call him Brother Joy in prison, and he really have the joy of the Lord. He really, because he know that God is his strength. And that sounds just like what you're saying, that God is your strength. Absolutely. But I would really like to know, how's the relationship between you and your daughter?
Wow. Okay. The relationship between me and my daughter is, it's good.
Really?
And I was able on last Thursday, which was August 12th, her birthday, she turned 23, And, I was able to, we went out and we spent the day together, did a little shopping. And, she was, she was anxious to just begin to, talk and just to let me know, the various things that she experienced and that she's went through. And the beautiful thing about it is that because I asked her, I said, forgive me for not being there. And she was like, Dad, I already forgave you, she really just, welcomed me with a open heart, and so our relationship is good. And I hope to make it better, but I understand that only can, take place with time.
Right.
It's like getting to know anybody, and so, I just really like to just listen to her because, she can tell, she kind of like her mama, she can talk a lot, and so, I just like listening to her. In fact, we got daddy daughter day tomorrow. So, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I love the way Shakita was so surprised. Shakita told me when I told her, she said, Marie, I didn't realize that the video was gonna go viral like it did.
Right.
I'm telling you, because she was like like, this is my daddy, like I can touch him, I can feel him, he's here.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm so happy about that.
Marie, what we should have did, I didn't know because I haven't seen the video yet. So share it with me. But what we should have showed it at the beginning of
the segment.
But I want to say that Lisa Scott is watching. Miss Barber, she said again to Shakita, she's definitely a praying woman, and that she said intentional. She's giving y'all applause. DeAndre says, "Hey, Shakita, Kiwi." I think you know what that means. I don't know what that means. But Linda Scott says, "Moving with purpose. It's love." And then Shamir says, "Already forgave." That's a heart right there. That's a wonderful thing. And so I wanted to read those comments because I want to reinforce that love, if you will, and approval that not only the people are sharing, but that your Lord and Savior, both of you, is sharing. Now, I like what Shakita said, and I know Marie will agree. We like to be transparent. We don't want people to think that everything is going to be all right every single moment of the day. That's not realistic.
Right.
And so what I want to share, I want to make a statement, and then I want to hear both. And Marie, if you want to add in on that statement, you can as well. But my statement is this. So often, couples have difficulty when they finally come together. Those, whether it was the woman that was incarcerated or the man, because there was two different worlds, like Shakita said. And when the two finally come together, they sometimes there is a little friction because they're learning each other. Now, somebody taught me a phrase one time: fruitful friction. I think it's good to have fruitful. I said that right? Fruitful, yeah. Fruitful friction.
Yeah.
But I want to make this statement. I read a book by the author of, I believe his name was John Chapman or Gary Smiley, one of the two. It was called The 5 Love Languages. Have you ever heard of that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, Shakita, you heard that too?
Yep, I have it.
Oh, okay then. That's what I'm talking
Very popular book.
All right, so y'all know what each other's love language is.
Wait, yeah.
And I'm saying this because many people, they feel like, oh, I know him. We done wrote these thousands of letters. Okay, but now it's time to really get to know the individual. So with that being said, are y'all going to have counseling before y'all get married?
Well, definitely. Let me just backtrack for a minute. Okay. It's interesting that you brought that up. We actually just had that conversation yesterday. And one of the things that we spoke about while I was incarcerated, and that was getting to know one another again, so that's the primary focus right now, because the Jay that she knew, the James that she knew, some 22 years ago, and the Shakita that I knew some 22 years ago, those individuals are gone, and so we are, concentrating on getting to know one another again, and that's something that takes time, but at the same time, I'm here, she's there, we aren't going anywhere, and so we have the time to be able to do that, and when we get to that place, where we are ready to exchange vows, we'll definitely do counseling, and so it's all going well and according to the plan.
Shakita?
Yeah, like he said.
I want to hear you.
Well, I mean, like he said, we've had these conversations, even before, we had the final, release date, the final answer. So we've always had these conversations over the years, because again, it's reality. We do have to get to know each other. And like he said, he joked on me because right now, I mean, for me, I go to counseling myself. I have to go to counseling. He joke on me, but whatever. But the thing is, as far as, definitely once we get to that point, it's like, okay, well, you know what? This is, the road that we're going to take. Yeah, we're definitely going to do counseling. I mean, and it's been a few years ago where, his mom actually put us together a counseling, a marriage counseling packet, and we used to discuss it, even though he was there, I'm here. But again, it's important to know someone's thoughts, because for me, right, he's an analytical person. I'm an analytical person. I listen to words. He listened to it. So again, it's almost like, okay, what did you mean by that? Because I need to make sure that I fully understand you. So I don't really think we have a communication barrier like we had 22 years ago. Because I'm going to tell you, I just shut down the wall and I don't want to talk anymore. But again, we're grown, so the thing is, you cannot move forward without communicating,
That's
because
right.
if you can't use your words, then how far do you really think you're going to get? So not again, I feel like we're in a healthy place. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens.
Well said.
Well, I'm analytical too, and I'm analyzing what y'all responses are.
He's very analytical.
So what you say there, Mr. Campbell?
I'm saying here that I hope y'all got thick skin.
Okay.
Okay. But I believe that the two of you, the love aspect is not an issue.
Right.
So that's not even an issue. I believe that if you haven't, you need to make sure that y'all on the same page as it relates to your future. Because you've been waiting a long time, and your daughter's thinking one thing. Family member may be wondering where are they going at with this. So I just want to make sure that y'all two are on the same page going forward, so that at least the relationship that you built right now will not be affected by all the pressure that may be coming on the outside for y'all to make a decision. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Well said.
Go ahead, Miko.
No,
you heard this.
Samira said something. I want to read it. Miss Barbara said, if it bears fruit, it's alive and it's growing. And I believe she's saying that in relation to your relationship spiritually, but also in your relationship together, physically. And then Shamir says, well said. I hope she's talking about that I said it well, but rather than but anyway, go ahead, Marie.
So James, what are you giving back? Like, are you gonna start like or look at me, like an organization like for men to help like young boys? Like, what would you give back to the communities, like going out helping young guys that are going in the wrong direction? Are you starting to talk to the young men?
Absolutely. And I believe that, everybody's first ministry always starts with their family. I got some young men and some young daughters in my, some young girls in my family, but absolutely. And I actually had begun working on a nonprofit while I was incarcerated, and it's called Project Reach, and Reach stands for Reach Every Day Above Circumstances High. Okay. And it was predicated upon an article that I read that really birthed a vision in my heart. And it was a young girl by the name of Ebony who was going through hardship, single parent, going from shelter to shelter. Father was not in her life. But at a very young age, she grabbed a hold of the dream of going to an Ivy League school. Okay.
Wow.
And so, and she never let go of that dream. And so what she did is that she began to, research and find out all of the things that she had to do to be able to go to that Ivy League school. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to make a long story short, Ebony, even though she had the rough upbringing, even though she wasn't able to, have this or have that, she was able to actually make it into an Ivy League school. And from my own research, it was said that only actually 4% of the applicants actually make it into Ivy League school. And but I believe she made it into Columbia. And what I took from that is that as long as we can begin to birth dreams and visions in our young men and in our young girls, because oftentimes, they're confined by what they see. If you ask a whole bunch of the youngsters, what do you want to do, or what do you want to be? It's very limited in what they may be able to see. But what the Project Reach would do is it was basically show them like, listen, you are able to do and to become and to be absolutely anything that you want to do or anything that you want to be. You can do that. And so, what I would want to do is to actually put them along with somebody in that field and to just birth that dream in them. You can be more than a ball player.
That's
right. You can be more than this. You can be more than that. And so, that's something that I absolutely want to do. And God willing, I will do.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Shakita, can you tell me more about your the Roof Foundation?
Well, we're just coming up on 2 years. And again, with the Roof Foundation, as I stated before, pre-COVID, I was actually going to the jails and doing classes with the women, and just pretty much like giving them that hope. Like you can't start your journey when you get out. You have to start while you're here. So it's like this thing. I had one class. It was called "Think About It." You need to think about who's on your bus, because if incarceration is a revolving door to you, what are some things you need to do different? Because if you're going back to the same, atmosphere, nothing is going to change, because, why you're incarcerated, is like, I'm going to do better. But because you're down, you have no other, have no other choice. But, and for me, it warmed my heart, because when it first started out, they gave me the little crazy looks like, where you come from? What you gonna tell us? My first class, it was only like 4 ladies. By week 3, I had a big class of like 18, because it's like, no, you have to go. But again, I believe in transparency. So the thing is, and I told them, if you are not serious about, transformation, this is not the class where you need to go back out there, because I love to give people hope in hopeless situations, so again, and one thing I've learned from the ladies, they never had a support system, so with the Roof Foundation, we know we can't take the place of your family, but sometimes it just means that, it just means a lot when, you have someone that actually care. Like someone is in my corner, someone is cheering me on. So therefore, the Roof Foundation, and again, it is biblical based, Christian based, because again, it stands for redeemed under the Holy Spirit. As long as you believe, look, you can be delivered from anything. But again, it starts within. So with that, the ultimate goal is to actually get a transition home. Not a 60-day or a 90-day. Like the goal is, because how can you really do something once you're released from prison within 60 to 90 days? That's just impossible. You know? So you have these homes, it's okay. You have these homes like, okay, you have 60 to 90 days to get your whole life together. Then you put you in the street. Well, guess what? They're going back to jail. They're going back to the drugs. They're going back to whatever. So with the Roof Foundation, the ultimate goal is to have a home setting for them, and also still continue with those classes, because I do believe in educating yourself on a daily basis, and at the same time we're going to incorporate some Bible studies in that also. So in the meantime, just trying to do whatever I can do right now, since we're pretty much on shutdown, just reaching out to the community. We have an event coming up next week, Pack the Backpack. just a community event, just look, we're here for support. It's not all because you have so many children. I grew up in the projects myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just by the grace of God, I had a mother that worked every day. So
Right.
my story is not that because we lived in the projects because my mother didn't want didn't want anything any better for herself. She went to work every day. So I
Mhm.
saw my mom go to work. So it's that thing of it's not where you live, it's how you live. And
That's
my
right.
mom, she was a woman of dignity, a woman of character, a woman of integrity. So therefore, it's like, okay, I hustle hard. So again, with the Root Foundation, the ultimate goal is just to give those in hopeless situations hope so that they can actually, change their mindset, not going back to jail, going back
That's
to.
right. And that's what Miko always talks about, recidivism. And I like
Mhm.
what you said, Shakita. You can't tell a person who coming home that you got 30 days, 60, 90 days, because that's why recidivism is so high, because people go back to what they know.
Yeah.
And that's why Miko like to say, is your transition smooth? Because like James said and Miko said, they had a support system. A lot of people don't have that. So they like, and I iterate, you go back to what you know. Because I didn't have that support system when I came home, and I always like to tell a story about that lady at Candler Hospital when she said to me, if I was a drug dealer, if I had a drug charge, she would hire me. But because I had a forgery charge, that shows distrust, and she didn't give me a job.
Wow.
And so when you have your babies looking at you, they don't want to hear that when you have to feed them and give them a place to stay. So I like the fact that you say that you still stick with them, and you keep showing them the videos and things like that. So it's good when you have somebody sticking by your side to try to encourage you to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Speaking of
Yeah.
encouragement, Ms. Barbara White, she says yes in relation to what Shakita is doing with the Ruth Foundation. I think that is awesome as well.
Yes.
We have Sierra is watching as well, and Miss Linda Scott says in relation to what James said, our young men need mentors and positive role models. And also, DeAndre says, ha ha. And Virginia says it has the lowest recidivism rate. Barriers, crimes hurt us. I want to say right now, James and Shakita, speak to those, because there are those that are listening right now that are incarcerated. We know that this radio station goes into Jessup prison system. And so I want you to speak to those that are still incarcerated. We got three audiences I want you and Shakita to speak to. Audience number one, those that are still incarcerated, waiting on God to open that door. Audience number two is those couples that are watching and that need that encouragement to hold on and to fight. And then audience number three, those young women that are on Facebook, they're saying, man, it's hard to hold on, but Chiquita, you can tell them how to do that. So you go first, James. I want you to speak to those brothers that are still incarcerated, that have that time and feel like, man, am I ever going to get my time? I too had a life sentence. And when God opened those doors for me, I had always believed, I know I'm going home. I didn't know when, but in my mind, I know one day I'm going to go home. And that hope, that glorious hope that I have in Christ kept me. But you speak right now, encourage those that are waiting on that day and help them to know that they can prepare today for who they'll be tomorrow.
I mean, gladly, because I'm still in contact with those guys. One thing about, being incarcerated, especially being incarcerated for that long period of time, the brothers, those guys really become family, family. And I got family behind the walls right now. I got family behind the walls right now. And what I would just tell the brothers are, especially those who are dealing with those life sentences, is that, man, God is no respecter of persons, man. What he did for me, he'll do for you. Only that he asks is that you continue to be faithful, and he will open the doors. Continue to better yourself in every way possible. Continue to just be, optimistic. I know sometimes it gets hard. It got hard for me, But I'm telling you right now that if he did it for me, he'll do it for you. And you brothers know who you are, because I speak to you on a day-to-day basis. Jermaine, Gene, brother Boyd, all of these brothers have life sentences. And I was speaking to some of them throughout the course of the week, man, and we was just, crying together because we were just reflecting back on some of the time that we spent while we was incarcerated, while we was, encouraging one another. And so, man, I would just tell the brothers is that, man, just continue to do what you already doing. And I will also tell you, man, listen, the vision is for an appointed time, man. He who said it, he will do it. He is faithful to perform it. Just continue to do your part. Continue to believe. Continue to trust. And I would tell you, man, that he is, matter of fact, your date has already been decreed in the heavens. We just waiting for the crossover. We waiting for the manifestation here in the physical. Keep on doing what you're doing, brothers. Your time is coming, and it's coming soon.
Shakita, before you go, DeAndre says, this is awesome, y'all. I'll be following this page. This information is powerful and needed and in our communities. So you go ahead and speak now, Shakita, to those ladies that are watching and they are praying, bringing the children up, taking the children to go and visit. And I say ladies because primarily it is the ladies that are on the outside waiting on the men, but it can also, the roles can be reversed. But right now, you speak your heart to those that are watching.
What I will say is, again, we're not going to sit here and say that the sentence was a walk in the park. James and I, we've had times where we didn't, see eye to eye on a lot of things, but it all boiled down to, okay, who is it really hurting most? Is it hurting me most? Is it hurting him most? Or we had to put everything aside. So to the ladies that have children and the fathers are incarcerated, do not hold your children away from the fathers. Do not hold the fathers away from the children. Because at the end of the day, people make mistakes. Mistakes are there. But at the same time, regardless how you personally feel towards that father, do not hold the children away from the fathers. Those children have to grow up. Because guess what? My thing is they're going to look at you, mother, and resent you. Why did you hold my father away from me? So again, allow them to make that decision, that determination as to whether or not they want to continue on with the relationship with their father. Make sure it's a mother. Not only is a mother, it's a woman. Do your due diligence in making sure that your children know their fathers while incarcerated. Because again, one thing that actually helped me to see some things and grow in an area, not only is a mother, but also as a woman, because at the end of the day, James explained how lonely it can be, without family. I mean, and this is the only daughter that he has. So it's not like he has multiple children. This is the only child. But again, just to see, his child's face, what that does, it gave him that hope. So again, you have these mothers out here. If you please do not hold your children away from the father, because it will help them, give them that sanity that they need to continue to push on, even greater.
Awesome. And I love the way you spoke passionately to the mothers. And because, I remember my son, when I was incarcerated, I was 20. So my son was 1 when I went to prison. And of course, 27 when I came home. His mother, she never stopped the opportunity for me to see him. My family had him all the time. So now when I came home, my son and I have a beautiful relationship. And so I applaud you, regardless of, and this is a hard saying, but it's reality. Regardless of whether the man and the woman, husband and the wife stay together, at least keep that child in their lives, because what we have right now, we have a generation of young people who are off the chain. That's the only way I can say it. And it's because the nucleus was destroyed. And when I say the nucleus, I mean the family, the father, the mother, the children. The nucleus has been destroyed. And so
That's right.
I applaud you, Shakita, for being intentional about making sure your daughter and her father maintain that relationship. Marie, I know you had stepped away for a moment. Is there something you want to say? I was allowing them this opportunity to speak to the audience and to encourage them before we get ready to wrap it up. Is there something you want to say, Marie?
Yes, I would like to say again, thank you, James, so much, and Shakita for coming on the show. When the wedding comes, don't forget to invite me because I'm coming to Virginia because it's going to be a beautiful matrimony. Because Shakita, you have a beautiful spirit, and so do you, James. And God is going to do great things in both of your lives. So I just want to encourage and say that. And it was just good having you two on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
I want you to tell the people again how they can contact your organization, whether it's for encouragement or counseling, or to, give them understanding of what they can. Just tell them one more time how to contact you in relation to the Ruth organization.
Well, let me just do this disclosure because we had a lot of people to reach out. We are not a legal service. We only support. We're not a legal service. So therefore, you can contact us. We have a website, www.ruth-foundation.org, or either you can email us at info@ruth-foundation.org. And we do have a telephone. It's 804-928-3283.
One more time. Do that one more time, slowly.
Oh, I know I can talk fast. So I'm just going to give you
you can type it in the, let me see. Okay, no, go ahead. Just say it slowly.
Info, INFO, at Ruth, the lady's name, RUTH-foundation.org. Or you can go to the website, which is www.ruth-foundation.org. And all of our upcoming events and everything is out there. Our vision, our mission, what we are, who we are, is actually on the website.
All right. And James, just tell us again, how, if somebody needs to contact you, what you're doing as it relates to mentoring. Just share. Go ahead and share.
The best way to reach me would be through this young lady right here. She got the hookup already. So if you want to reach me, reach out to her. You understand? And we'll link up and we'll make it happen.
That's right.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right. So as we get ready to close, one thing, I am always grateful for this opportunity to provide a platform for returning citizens, be it their families or resources, because we, again, want to change this narrative. I like to say often, we may have started out wrong, but we can all finish strong. And it sounds to me that you both are finishing strong, be it individually in what you're doing, mentoring, and also counseling and leading, but you're also finishing strong in relationship, allowing your daughter to see that that nucleus come back together, if you will. So I applaud both of you in your individual callings, but also in your collective relationship. And I want to, again, let our audience know that they did it.
Yes.
You can do it also.
That's right.
And that's what we want people to know, that you can make it also. So those of you, our brothers and sisters that are still behind the walls, you are not forgotten. Keep preparing. Keep praying so that when the door does suddenly open, you will be ready for whatever it is God has for you. Also, those of you that are waiting, because I have a friend, he's waiting. The brothers who have a life sentence.
That's right.
I heard you call a few of their names out.
That's right.
Jay. I have some brothers as well that have life sentences. And I want to also, just let them know, hold on.
That's right.
Keep on praying.
That's
Keep
right.
on preparing. So when that door does open, like Nehemiah, that's what stirs me. Nehemiah was ready when the king said, "What do you want?"
That's right.
Ready. And so I pray also that be ready when the doors come open, you will be able to walk right in to your call or career or marriage, if you will. So again, I thank the two of you for coming on. Always for AB and Julius Hall, we are grateful to both of you for the vision that you have and also the platform that you have provided for us. For those of you that are listening, thank you for listening. Share this. It's on Facebook, All Things Relevant, ATR Media. Share this so that it can encourage others that they too are not alone and they can make it as well. Thank you both again.
Thank you. All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.